Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamunā River Yamunā Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. And Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamunā River Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamunā River Yamunā River Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja-vihāra Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja-vihāra Śrīmad Bhagavatam ki jai, Śrī Kṛṣṇa Balarāma ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya Naram Shaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer obeisances to Narayan, the personality of Godhead, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Śrīla Vyāsadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu Niksham Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavad-yutama shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. By regular attendance in the classes on the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, or by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious in the heart becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service to the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs comes into being as an irrevocable fact. It can't be taken away, irrevocable. We're on 10th Canto, chapter 66, verse 18. Is that right? No. Huh? Yeah, that's what I thought I had. Tenth Canto, chapter, what chapter is it? 65. Acha, sorry. Yeah, God. Technology, jumping. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Okay, pūrṇa-candra-kalā-mṛṣṭe, kaumudī-gandha-vāyunā, yamunopavane, reme, sevite, strī-gaṇair, vṛtaḥ. pūrṇa-candra-kalā-mṛṣṭe, kaumudī-gandha-vāyunā, yamunopavane reme, sevite strī-gaṇair 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 vṛtaḥ. Must be more. pūrṇa-candra-kalā-mṛṣṭe, kaumudī-gandha-vāyunā, yamunopavane reme, sevite strī-gaṇair vṛtaḥ. pūrṇa-candra-kalā-mṛṣṭe, kaumudī-gandha-vāyunā, yamunopavane reme, sevite strī-gaṇair vṛtaḥ. pūrṇa-candra-kalā-mṛṣṭe, kaumudī-gandha-vāyunā, yamunopavane reme, sevite strī-gaṇair vṛtaḥ. Vāyunā, yamunopavane reme, sevite strī-gaṇair vṛtaḥ. Ladies, pūrṇa-candra-kalā-mṛṣṭe, kaumudī-gandha-vāyunā, yamunopavane reme, sevite strī-gaṇair vṛtaḥ. pūrṇa-candra-kalā-mṛṣṭe, kaumudī-gandha-vāyunā, yamunopavane reme, sevite strī-gaṇair vṛtaḥ. Pūrṇa, full, Chandra, of the moon, Kala, by the rays, mṛṣṭe, bathe, kaumudī, of lotus flowers that open in the moonlight, gandha, bearing the fragrance, vāyunā, by the wind, Yamunā, of the Yamunā River, upavane, in a garden, reme, he enjoyed, sevite, served, strī, women, gaṇaiḥ, by many, vṛtaḥ, vṛtaḥ, accompanied, and accompanied of numerous women Lord Balarāma enjoyed in a garden by the Yamunā River. The garden was bathed in the rays of the full moon and caressed by the breezes bearing the fragrance of night-blooming lotuses. Purport by the disciples of Śrīla Prabhupada, very short. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Thakur explains that Lord Balarāma's conjugal pastimes took place in a small forest alongside the Yamuna, a place known as the Śrīrāma-ghaṭṭa, which is far from the site of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's rāsa dance. Om Agana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksurmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschachade Satarane Vansha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Vyo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tushe Namaha. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Garim Tat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Guru Dinatadane Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pankaja Panjarantam Ajaiva Me Visatu Manasa Rajahansan Prana Pranama Samayeka Pavata Pittai Kantabaroho Danavido Smaranam Kataste. Jai. So we're very fortunate to be here at the lotus feet of Krishna and Balarama, Radhesham, and Shishi Gaur-Nitai, and all the devotees, all the Brijvasis, all the residents, devotees, all the visiting, the Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi, Lava Mata Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. But we're getting many lavas, not just one, right? But even that 1/13th part or 11th part of a second is something. So don't underestimate the value of Harinam. Even people are running by, they get a few lavas, association. Devotees ask most of the time, what about your association with Śrīla Prabhupada? That I didn't have, a sermon, any of that. I did watch a lot of things. One thing I always remember is that when Prabhupada did his first artik for Krishna Balarama, and he was very happy. For the class you should have these microphones so you can look around, Otherwise we have to just constantly be thinking of not moving, especially in these squishy chairs that sink down. So anyway, Prabhupada, he was of course in ecstasy at that first artik. So after he offered the water, he turned around and he was throwing it, And I watched Prabhupada, his face was so ecstatic. But now we never do that. I always remember, we go around. Prabhupada was throwing that water for a long time, very happy. So Balarama, we heard, he returned to Vrindavan. It's a big event for everybody. And here he's going off. He has his gopi friends also, complete different group than Krishna. And it's mentioned here in the purport, very far away, the place where he does his rāsa dance. And it was a big event. That's where David Vrila comes in, right? So everybody in Vrindavan was feeling great separation from Krishna and Balarama after they left for Mathura and then went to Dwarka. I heard Indraduna Maharaj speaking the other day, and so Balarama came back, but Krishna didn't come back. Now, the one reason is that he didn't want to endanger Vrindavan anymore because he knew there's so many demons, they're going to attack him. And, he couldn't just have a big army in Vrindavan. Of course, Krishna didn't need a big army. He could have done it all by himself. Just by throwing his chakra, it could go and kill everybody, even no matter how many Akshauhinis it was. But we know, like, he left Mathura even because of the same reason, that, there are too many demons. So after Jarasandha's 17th attack, and then the Kala Yavana also came, and Krishna moved everyone to Dwarka. So in Dwarka they were talking, and Krishna was feeling great separation also, painfully feeling separation from Braj and the Brajvasis, his parents and the gopis, Srimati Radharani, that even had a little Vrindavan park Balarama built for him, with cows, and so he could think he was in Vrindavan. And there was discussion, why doesn't he just go back? He knows everybody's suffering so much and everybody's crying. But another reason was, Krishna said, if I go back, then they're going to be so worried that I'm going to leave again, that it'll be worse. There'll be so much in anxiety that Krishna's going to leave again, that it'll be more intense than if he doesn't go back. And then when he does leave again, which he would have to do because there were so many demons that Krishna had to kill, and Balarama also. So anyway, Balarama is back. And this feelings of separation, today is an anniversary of a special example of very intense separation, right? It's a teen samadhi. If you go to Radhakund, there's one teen samadhi. There's 3 samadhis in one place. There's Raghunath Das Goswami and Krishnadas Kaviraj and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. They're one samadhi for all 3 of them. They all left on the same titi, different years, but the same titi. Raghunath Goswami was older. He was the first one. And then some years later, and Krishnadas Kaviraj always says, at the end of every chapter, he acknowledges Raghunath Das Goswami as his guru, because Raghunath, one of his sadhana was to recite Chaitanya Leela 3 hours a day at Radhakund. And Krishnadas Kaviraj was his neighbor, so he heard all his recitations and he took notes. So later, he was the only one that really knew all these things. And everybody requested him to write. So he went around and he went to the temple to ask permission, and as he was bowing down, the pujari gave him a garland. He took that as a confirmation. He asked many senior devotees if it was all right for him to write the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. It's not an ordinary thing to write, Krishna Katha, Krishna Lila. And of course everybody was asking him to do it. He asked Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who was, the leader. He said only on one condition, that you can't mention me in the book. Such a humility. So his name is mentioned once or twice. When Sanatan and Rupa, they wanted darshan of Gopal, that was on top of Govardhan. So there was some warning of disturbance, and they brought Gopal to Mathura. And so the whole group, so there's a long list of all the names, and Gopal Bhatta is one of the names. That there might be one other mention, but so much humility, he didn't want to, be glorified in the same place where Lord Chaitanya is being glorified. So then some years later, on the disappearance day of Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj was feeling such intense separation that he left his body. That's real. This whole idea of separation, is quite beyond me anyway. I don't know if any of you feel really intense separation from Krishna. We might feel separation from objects that we lose, if we lose our bead bag or something, but it usually gets over quite quickly. But these Brajvasis, their intensity, they just became like melancholy. We would say what? Spaced out? Right? Is that the translation for melancholy? The residents of Ayodhya, when Ram left, they were also melancholy. They weren't interested in anything, just crying all the time. All the associates of Lord Chaitanya in Puri, after he left, they just cried all the time. And then very soon, all of them left their bodies. They didn't eat, they didn't sleep, they just cried. And so they didn't live very long, even though they were not so old. Like Gadadhar, he was same age as Lord Chaitanya, so, around 50 years old, but just died of old age, feeling separation. So then, some years later, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was meditating on Raghunath Das Goswami and Krishnadas Kaviraj, and the separation was so intense that he also left his body. That's why there's 3 samadhis in one place. So it's a very special place, and the whole area there where Raghunath lived, and we have the room of Krishnadas Kaviraj, so that's where he heard the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Raghunath Das Goswami was like the associate, the intimate associate of Swarup Damodar Goswami, who was the most intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya in Puri. So he witnessed so many of all the pastimes in Puri, personally witnessed. And he took extensive notes. But when Lord Chaitanya traveled, when he came back, then they would interview whoever was with him, like very intensely, and that's otherwise how would we know about the South Indian tours and the Vrindavan tour and everything? So he's the one who collected all that. So, we're very obliged. Raghunatha Swami's life is a very good example of. He was the most renounced, and he was actually instructed by Lord Chaitanya to be the most renounced, just to be renounced. No, he was from the very, very rich family. His father and his uncle were the richest men in Bengal. They were tax collectors and zamindars. Zamindars were like kings because they owned so much land, and then people would have to pay taxes to them for using their land. But he was never interested. He was the only son of the father and the uncle, so it was all meant for him. But he never had any interest, and by the arrangement of Lord Chaitanya, when he was quite young, Haridas Thakur spent the Chaturmasya in their village. So he heard Haridas Thakur talking about Lord Chaitanya all the time. So he got this, that he had no other desire except to be with Lord Chaitanya. And he tried, his father was, he tried running away, but his father had many connections, so he could always catch him. And the father tried, got him a most beautiful wife, said like a heavenly apsara. He had no interest in that either. The mother said we should tie him up. Father said, if this beautiful wife won't keep him home, no amount of chains will keep him either. So finally he managed to, he did meet Lord Chaitanya. He got permission to go to Shantipur. And Lord Chaitanya told him, just, lay back. Just be a good boy, help your father in the business, and I'll take care of everything. So he did that. So that everybody was relaxed. Everybody thought, he's not going to run away anymore. But he went to where's the place? Place of Raghava Pandit? Panihati, yeah. So he went to Panihati when Lord Nityananda was there. And he was very humble, so he didn't come close. Lord Nityananda was sitting there, covered with jewels and crowns and rings on all his fingers, and surrounded with his most intimate associates, sitting under one tree. So Raghunatha made obeisance from distance, and then somebody saw him and said, Raghunatha is there. So Nityananda said, you come here. And he paid obeisances. And at some point there, Nityananda put both feet on his head. And he said, you're a bad boy because you didn't come, to pay obeisances. So you have to pay a fine. You have to make this feast for everybody, this chipped rice festival. So he was very happy because he had a lot of money. So he was very happy with that punishment. So he sent his men out and they bought so much pots and clay pots and so much kheer and so much dahi and so much chipped rice and other things. And they made big pots and then they divided and gave. And then of course it's India. Everybody heard about this festival and it became maha-crowded. He had to send his men to other villages to get more bhoga. Devotees were sitting in the Ganga And it was very ecstatic. Even Lord Chaitanya came, but no one could see him except Lord Nityananda, maybe a few others. And he went around and he was serving prasadam, but nobody could see the hand. And Nityananda was feeding him. They were, And then Nityananda told Raghunatha, how he would get away. He predicted exactly. And then not too much late. And then, so Raghunatha, he left a lot of money, gold, for Lord Nityananda and all his associates. He gave it to somebody. He said, don't tell until I'm gone. And he was very happy to be able to utilize his wealth. And then Krishna made arrangements so he could get away. I think maybe everybody knows. The guru of the family came, and one pujari had quit his service, and he asked Raghunatha to come and talk to him. Raghunatha was extremely charming. He was very charming face and very expert talker. He even charmed he got arrested when they were looking for his father, and he talked the jailkeeper out of it, made a deal. So he went and talked to this pujari and he got him to take his service back. And then the Yadunanda Acharya, he said, okay, I'll go back home with you. He said, it's okay, I can find my way back home now. So nobody was worried, nobody followed him. Normally there were many, like chokidars or whatever, they would follow him wherever he went. His father was watching very closely. But because he was with the guru, they let him go by himself. So he said, it's all right, I'll go home, and he took off. He left for Puri. But he went on all back roads. He went through the villages. He didn't take the main road. And he didn't eat most of the days, just walking. The other devotees were actually going, as they go to Puri every year. So his father thought he joined them, but they caught up, but he said, no, he's not with us. So they didn't know what to do. He got to Puri, and Lord Chaitanya was very, very happy to see him. He gave him under the care of Swarup Damodar. And Father found out, but he knew he's never going to leave. So he sent money and servants. And for a while he was using that money, and he was inviting devotees for prasadam and Lord Chaitanya also. But then he thought, I shouldn't take money from these materialistic people. So he gave it up, started begging. For, the Brahmins would come out from the temple with the prasad, and he'd get a little. Then he thought, this is no good. I'm always thinking maybe this one will give, this one gave yesterday. So he gave that up. Started just waiting at the Food for Life stand and get some khichdi or whatever they were giving away. And then he gave that up, and he was just, when they washed the pots, there was some old rice and stuff that was coming out to drain. It even didn't smell good. Even cows didn't eat it. He would collect that and wash it off, and he was eating that. So Lord Chaitanya, after he didn't invite him for some time, and he asked Swarup Damodar what happened. So he told him, and Lord Chaitanya was happy to hear that, and he went and found him. So what are you eating there? Why are you not inviting me? You're eating so nicely. And he was, no. And Lord Chaitanya reached and grabbed that old washed off rice, washed off all the rotten part. And he said, this is the best prasadam. But then he told Raghunatha, don't dress nicely and don't eat nicely. So he was the most renounced, always. And he was always there until Lord Chaitanya left. And he was feeling so much in separation from Lord Chaitanya that he thought he has to suicide. And he thought he would jump off Govardhan Hill. Now, Govardhan Hill might have been much bigger then, I don't know. It would be difficult now, right, to successfully suicide. But so he went to Vrindavan, but Rupa and Sanatan knew that Lord Chaitanya did not approve of suicide. So they convinced Raghunatha to just stay there. So he stayed there, and he had this incredible sadhana, at least 2 lakhs at japa, and bowing down to 2,000 Vaishnavas, at least. If any new ones came, he would bow down to them. And he just lived there in Radhakund. He wrote a few short books, but anyway, that's his disappearance day, so it's quite inspirational. Most of us come from not very super rich families, but comfortable, opulent compared to. They say if you just have a roof over your head and food every day, regular, you're better off than like 80 or 90% of the people in the world. But we take it for granted, But the point is, chanting the holy name. And in order to really chant, we need to feel separation. So we might feel separation from our service. We want to serve Krishna in a particular way. Devotees, if we're visiting Vrindavan, when we leave, we feel some kind of separation, want to go back, want to remember Vrindavan. And that's why Prabhupada wanted us to come here regularly. He said to recharge the batteries. I think that Prabhupada, I don't know if anybody else, because most of you are young, but at the time that Prabhupada said that, rechargeable batteries were not a common thing. Practically didn't exist. But he said, recharge your spiritual batteries, because we're preaching and, associating with all the mundane people, sinful places, so we get exhausted. So come and recharge your batteries. Now, we come to Vrindavan and we're looking for the place to plug in our phones before anything else, right? We don't think, where's Krishna? We say, where's the Wi-Fi and where's the, all this rechargeable stuff. But Prabhupada he knew everything. So he was, great endeavor to make this Krishna Balarama temple. And so many devotees, with no experience, managed to help him and get it built. Now we can take advantage of it to recharge our batteries and to, pray to Balarama. The day after the initiation, the installation, in the morning walk, Prabhupada was especially joyful. At least who knows? Like, I remember the first temple I went to, they had this picture of Prabhupada on their Vyasasan. And it's kind of and he was sitting in it's black and white, and he looked very grave, And I was thinking, if they had a more happy-looking picture of their guru, they might attract more people. But then I read later, it must have been that picture, that Prabhupada said, what do you know about bliss? That was a moment of great ecstasy, So, we gradually learn. So he was always blissful on the morning walks there in Vrindavan. I was able to join them. I just joined them, actually. And at that time, I was a book distributor, well known. And so I just joined the morning walk. I was grihasta. Some sannyasis, what's he doing here, you know? And somebody says, book distributor. I said, oh, okay. So I tagged along. But that morning, Prabhupada was especially like happy, just like bouncing. So he stopped at one point, because it was a dirt road, nothing happening on that road. Once in a while, some farmer would come by. I don't even know if it was bullock cart, just somebody, and you know, they'd say Jai Radhe. It's all trees, and we could see the Nilagai and everything, peacocks howling everywhere. And Prabhupada stopped, and he said, no, Balarama is here. And then he said, if you ever get feeling weak, and you need help, you can pray to Balarama, and he will give you strength. A very nice instruction. It's for everybody. Spiritual strength, you know. Prabhupada explains that some people think Balarama was also physically the most powerful. Same as Krishna. Someone asked Prabhupada once, who's more powerful, Krishna or Balarama? Who's stronger? And Prabhupada said, Krishna, because Balarama's leaning on Krishna. But they're equal. There's no difference, except the color of this, whatever, not body, but you know, the color and clothes, different colored clothes. Somebody asked Prabhupada, you know, these challenging atheists, could Krishna create something that's so heavy that he couldn't lift it? So Prabhupada gave different answers. One time he said yes. Then he said then Balarama would lift it. Another time he said, well, Krishna would make the thing that's too heavy, he can't lift it, and then he would lift it. The foolish atheists, you know, they challenge. Somebody asked him, how many windows in the Empire State Building? See if you really know everything. Prabhupada said, how many hairs on your head? You know, do you know how many hairs? Who cares how many windows? You know, it must be there on the internet now, the architectural plan, but what benefit is to know that? Just clutter up the mind. We have to fill the mind with purity, with Krishna-kata, with the darshan of the Lord, feel the vision. So Balarama is very merciful, and Lord Nityananda is Balarama. Prabhupada wanted everyone to know that, so he made the Gaur Nitai and Krishna Balarama and Radha Shyam. And he's trying to teach everybody, because even now, Lord Chaitanya's divinity, that he's Krishna, is not like known all over, but by the mercy of ISKCON, it's happening, it's being understood. I was just reading Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela on Saturday morning, and it was a section where he gave all these references that prove that Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. And how, from all these Puranas and all these different Vedas, or, you know, he's saying, I will come in Navadvip and I'll be the son of Sachi and I'll spread the Sankirtan movement. And so it's all there, and Prabhupada very kindly gave us that so we can, you know, worship. There were these people that used to be right near here. They had that mantra, Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam. And Prabhupada said we should say Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam, Jai Śrī Kṛṣṇa Balarāma. But that's when he also said we should chant Jai Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Gadadhar Śrī Vasudhi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda, because they chanted Bhaja Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya. So it immediately changed all over the world. even though we didn't have internet, hardly had long-distance phones, but somehow or other that spread very quickly. Prabhupada's Shakti. So Balarama came back to Vrindavan. He spent a long time, so everybody, even Mother Yasoda held him on her lap. You can imagine this grown-up Balarama. But mothers, it's always their baby, Even though she wasn't directly her child, she raised him. And he told everybody about Krishna, so they were very happy just to hear about Krishna and know that he thinks about them. Balarama knew more than anybody how much Krishna was feeling separation from the Brijvasis, so he could inform them very nicely. So we should read Krishna book. Prabhupada gave us, very early on, an intense marathon to get that book published and produced. Nowadays, the original Krishna book was 2 volumes. One volume was the Braj and the other volume was the rest. The first volume had 64 pictures. Prabhupada assigned anyone who was an artist, paint this. And the second volume had 36 pictures. Now the whole book has, 18? I think, actually the BBT Bombay, they just printed one a few years ago that has 50 pictures. Prabhupada was he wanted us to know the Krishna Lila, but so we had to blend in all the realizations of the first 9 cantos along with the Leelas. It's a miracle book, and everyone should read it. Prabhupada was still translating 10th canto, up until he left this world. So Krishna Balarama ki jai. If we have any comments or for proper explanations, please somebody, or even question. We've got a few minutes. It's embarrassing to speak in front of much more, and he always has questions.
Swami is told not to dress opulently and to be renounced. So in Vrindavan, we like the idea of being renounced and following the footsteps of great, souls. But it seems like Prabhupada, he always, when he would meet the public, he'd like to look proper, and his devotees to look proper. So how do we distinguish between real renunciation and the way we externally appear?
Yeah, well, we're preaching. So how Prabhupada would say that requires a little intelligence. That requires some intelligence, Prabhupada would say. But yeah, we don't want to be renounced like that because we're preaching, and people that's why we have opulent places, and so Raghunatha, this was at a different time. Culture was much different. But, he told different Goswamis different things. Of course, they were all Babajis. They were Babajis. They weren't sannyasis. So, renounced means, Yukta Vairagya, not attached. That's why we have to be very careful because, preaching and having temples, a lot of things come. A lot of profit, adoration, and fame comes. So one has to this is not mine. It's all Krishna's mercy. Everything belongs to Krishna. That's the highest renunciation. So like Yudhishthira, he was the king of the planet. The demigods were bewildered by the opulence, but he didn't have any attachment for any of it. Everything belongs to Krishna. So that's how we can try to remember that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in one of his songs, he said, I give up everything. My house, my wife, my children, my dog, the front gate. He listed a whole lot of things. None of that, it's all yours. I will never again say this is mine, but I will take, because you have given me this assignment, I will dutifully take very nice care of all these things. But it actually belongs to Krishna. So Panchagoda Prabhu is a good example, I think, because he's got this place, but he's just sitting down with the 24-hour kirtan and coming to Artik every day, starting from the... So you have to admire that. And so many devotees here, they've given up so much. It's all Krishna's. Is that all right? Preetu, you can explain better, I think.
Hare Krishna. We are referring to this morning walk in front of the top of the Lord Balarama. That's 1975.
Get the microphone on you.
So, this is May 75. Swami, the next day on Papa's morning walk on Traffica Road, which at that time, of course, was really dusty road. It's largely uninhabited, undeveloped region of Vrindavan, woods and fields on both sides. Prabhupada said morning very much pleased. They worked so hard to establish a temple and saw the needs, and now they've come off. Prabhupada called how he pushed the devotees. He said, I was practically whipping them. And he began telling how Krishna said to Balarama, my dear brother, all these trees are bending down to offer their obeisances to you. And these bees, they're all great sages who have come for you, for your association. In this way he began describing the pastimes. Then he said, now there comes this point, then he said how gaṇaiḥ and Krishna Balarama are no different. There's no difference between Krishna Balarama and gaṇaiḥ. He said, so, now it comes. If you have any difficulty, you can go now before gaṇaiḥ or Krishna Balarama and say, my dear sir, this is my problem. And they will do the needful. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Krishna Balarama. I was there, so everybody remembers slightly differently.
Hare Krishna. To answer Panchagoda's question, Prabhupada said you should dress according to the taste of others and you should eat according to your own taste. So depending on the situation you're in, you dress for that situation. That's the idea. But you always eat according to what's good for you, regardless of what anyone's eating.
Yeah, when Mukunda Maharaj in London, Prabhupada told him dress up really nice, and he got the whole thing with the king, the whole British pukka, dressed up. Janaki was telling, he said, you have to know Mukunda to understand how he immaculately dressed. And when Brahmananda, when they got the order for the happening album from the publishing company, Prabhupada said, dress up, suit and tie, everything, go there. Don't send it to him by mail like they normally did. He said, you go there and deliver it yourself. And he did, and they got somebody to print the Bhagavad Gita. Different for everybody. Time and circumstance. All right, so time is, thank you very much for all those who stay here all the time and keep this place going. It's incredible. And now all this construction, everywhere I look there's construction, right? Not only art, I don't know who's who, but everywhere I look there's new building. Trying to keep up with all the people coming. So we have to keep up, that we're always presenting a very nice, and greeting everybody that comes. Jayapataka Swami in Mayapur, saying that devotees who live here, you have to be conscious to take care of all the guests who are coming all the time. And that's like 27,000 people every day. Here, if it's 21,000 cups of prasadam, right? That's at least 20. That's not all the people that come. Not everybody takes that, but so we just have to be looking very nice and chanting and greeting people if they're bewildered and help them and give now 4,000 books every day. It's really mind-boggling. So thank you, everybody, and tolerating me. Śrīmad Bhagavatam ki jai. Śrī Kṛṣṇa Balarāma ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari. And the whole Dham is Balarama also. Everything in Krishna's is Balarama. So even the holy Dham created at Vrindavan for Krishna's pleasure. And that's why Radharani could go from Varshana to Nandagram every day to cook and go back home, because Balaram just changed the size.
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,